Well, our political editor, Beth Rigby, is here with me in Downing Street. And Beth, we keep saying this, don't we, about the extraordinary 24 hours that is just passed. But just address for us the process that finally got Liz Truss to address reality. It all really started to unravel finally last night.
It did. And I was on the television last night and I was saying it's clear that she's going to have to go. The question is the speed. And as these things sometimes go, the speed was fast this morning. You remember when Boris Johnson resigned, he went, when the herd moves, and it moved. It stampeded her this morning. Look, what happened overnight was that more letters went in, more MPs publicly said that they couldn't back her. Then what happened was Sir Graham Brady, he's the guy that is the shop manager, if you like, of all of the Conservative MPs. He went in to see the Prime Minister. A source at the time said that the Prime Minister had asked to see him, that she wanted to take the temperature of the party. He was soon followed in there by Therese Coffey, the Deputy Prime Minister and Liz Truss's most trusted ally, and then Jake Berry, the chairman of the Conservative Party. And at that point, you're wondering, well, if Jake Berry's in there, is this now something about regime change? We then got very short notice about a statement at 1:30, ran down here, and I was told by a source a few minutes before that she was going to resign. As my source said to me, it's over for her. And then she came out.
90 seconds, wasn't it, she spoke for?
Very short statement.
Let's move on then to the battle, the contest to replace her. Now, we were told during this kind of drawn-out process that they may be looking to have a coronation, to choose an agreed candidate. Clearly, they haven't been able to do that. And so we are going to get, it's going to be foreshortened, but we're going to get 8 days of drift again.
We are potentially not going to have 8 days of drift, Dermot. And the reason I say that is the way they have structured the contest is they've set the threshold for the number of MPs that you have to get to support you extremely high. I was told earlier in the week that they were looking at maybe 100 to 120 MPs. Some people didn't think that they would set the bar quite that high because they argued the parliamentary party wouldn't want to feel it was, to quote this senior Conservative, a stitch-up for one individual candidate. But Sir Graham Brady, when he was explaining the rules, said to us earlier, he thought up to 3 people could potentially get the nominations. There's 357 MPs. To give you a bit of context of where we are, Rishi Sunak got 137 backers in the first contest, where Liz Truss went on to win. Penny Mordaunt got 105. So you could see a scenario where Rishi Sunak and Penny Mordaunt get through.
That just about leaves enough for Boris Johnson.
Boris Johnson has a number of backers. There are doubts that he can get to that figure of 100 from MPs. And also Keir Starmer, when I interviewed earlier today, had all the attack lines ready of MPs ousting him to then bring him back into power. It could be quite a leap, couldn't it, for the party? But the reason I say it could be a coronation, and Dermot, I don't know, is that if only one candidate gets over the line by 2 p.m. on Monday, that person is effectively the Prime Minister. So at the latest, we'll have a new Prime Minister by Friday, a week tomorrow. And at the earliest, we could have someone
so just to
in
be clear on
post
that,
by
Beth,
Monday.
they're not going to whittle them down. So if one person gets over 100, I mean, that therefore means the more that stand, the more chance one person has of getting through. So they won't then say, we'll throw out the bottom two or whatever and move on.
You have to have over 100 nominations to go into it. If you have 3, then yes, there'll be a runoff between the 3 of them. What's really interesting, though, Dermot, and this is what MPs were telling me they wanted, and what's different from last time, is that Sir Graham has said there will be an indicative vote. Now, why does that matter? Because MPs last time wanted Rishi Sunak. He was the first choice. Members went for Liz Truss. So in this scenario, what the party is now doing, the parliamentary party, is saying, if we put this out to members, if there isn't only one candidate for an online ballot ahead of Friday, MPs want to signal to members who is their choice, and they hope, I guess, that that will influence members' votes. The question is, if there's 2 candidates and the preferred candidate of MPs doesn't win, what situation are we then? And I think the big picture in all of this, Dermot, as I said in that piece to camera, this party is so riven with grievances, with bitterness, with division. Whoever takes over, it's going to be one hell of a job to bring the Conservative Party back together.
Let's leave that as your final thought for the moment. See you again soon, Beth, because I want to test the temperature within the party, within sections of the party, as Beth's referring to, because I'm going to speak now to John Lamont, a Conservative MP supporting Penny Mordaunt. Very good to talk to you, Mr. Lamont. Do you think she will get 100 then to get into the final running?
Well, so I know Penny is speaking to colleagues this evening, and she's been overwhelmed by the number of colleagues, number of MPs who have spoken to her, who have indicated they would like her to stand. And I certainly hope that she does stand. I backed her back in the summer when there was a leadership election after Boris had resigned, and I hope she puts herself forward again. I'll certainly enthusiastically back her if that is what she decides to do.
Is it a strength that she served loyally in Liz Truss's cabinet, presumably signed off on the disastrous mini-budget?
Well, I think it's important that we look forward and learn the lessons from the mistakes that have made over the last sort of month or so. I believe Penny is the candidate that can bring not just the party together in terms of the cabinet and also the wider party of MPs, but she can bring the country together and reach into parts of the electorate, which I think we've perhaps not connected with in the best way that we might have done. So I think Penny has great voter appeal, and if we're trying to get ourselves back into an improved position compared to where we are just now in the opinion polls, I think Penny is the person to do that. So she would unite the party and unite the country.
But would she? I mean, can we be assured that she's rid herself of the idea that Liz Truss's original policies were a good idea?
Well, those were policies of Liz Truss, and clearly she has acknowledged...
And her cabinet.
She made mistakes, and the cabinet has acknowledged that mistakes have been made, and we now need to move forward. I believe Penny has the skills in terms of taking on Labour, taking on the SNP, and putting forward a fresh mandate, fresh ideas, and crucially, I think, bringing all talent into her cabinet. She's been very, very clear, I think, during the last contest, that she would run a very inclusive cabinet, bringing people in from all parts of the party and all talent. And that I think, is what the Parliamentary Party wants, and that's what the country expects.
And in terms of the talent in the next cabinet, is it a given that the Chancellor, Jeremy Hunt, has to remain the Chancellor? He's the man who has calmed the markets. He's the man who's working on this all-important statement on October the 31st, just 3 days potentially after the new Prime Minister is installed. He has to stay whoever wins, doesn't he?
Well, clearly that's a matter for whoever wins this contest, and a matter for Penny if she became Prime Minister, if she decides to stand. But I think you're right. Jeremy Hunt has done an incredible job over the last few days, just settling things down, calming nerves, reassuring the city, and hopefully the new government, the new Prime Minister, will be able to continue that. And certainly, as I say, I'm not going to second guess what the new Prime Minister would do, but I don't dispute your assertion that Jeremy has done a very good job in the last few days.
But on that basis, given we're all watching the money markets, the bond markets, they almost have a vote in this. Wouldn't it be better to have, in effect, two chancellors in there? And I'm talking about Rishi Sunak, either as Prime Minister or perhaps as Chancellor under Jeremy Hunt. If you want reassurance, and the bond markets certainly do, they would give it.
Well, what I hope is whoever is Prime Minister, all those names will be in the cabinet, serving the Prime Minister and serving the country. I think one of the criticisms of Liz Truss's administration was there wasn't a broad enough church within her cabinet. I would hope that whoever takes over, and I obviously hope that Penny will stand and Penny will be successful, she will bring all these people in to ensure that we are not just reassuring the city, but reassuring the wider electorate that we know what we're doing, we're able to run the economy and we're able to run the country. Because I think people have been a bit unsettled, it's fair to say, over the last few weeks and months, and they want reassurance that we're moving forward. And I think Penny has those skills to do that.
John Lamont, very good talking to you. Thank you very much indeed for joining us on Sky News tonight.